Hey guys, welcome back to SLT Learning, and in this series we're gonna cover about manual plus automation testing from scratch, right? When I just says from scratch, that means from manual testing project requirement to everything, right? And this is the our roadmap that we're gonna cover in this particular series. I hope you have watched the first video and now you are confident enough how you can start any fresh project if you're joining any company as a fresher, or if you're a non-IT background, right? How you should start your project, right? How you should understand the requirement, how you make your mind to cover up from the domain knowledge, right? How to collect the domain knowledge and everything. So each and every project will be from the certain domains, so always understand the domain. That will help you to understand the requirement, and when you have the requirement clear, then you can perform the manual testing plus automation testing in a good way. Okay, then we have also talked about how the test requirement we can collect from the project, right? How we can analyze the test requirement, how you can create the manual test scenario and test case. Then we have also talked about these particular things, what is our normal structure, and over here we have also shown the mapping of requirement traceability matrix. Okay, so I hope you have watched this first video, first part, where we have talked about manual test cases and all those things. We're going to create some more test cases, and for our training we have taken this orange hrm as our test application, right? So as of now we have just created these things. Okay, we have created for the login application the positive and negative scenario, but we will also talk about the positive things from this. uh, After login, what will happen, what are the different dashboard related scenario we can cover, and all those things we will discuss in detail. But as of now I want you to make aware about the concept of git and github, right? Why? Because see, when you are learning the technical concept, right, I believe we should learn from the basics, right? So currently in my project structure I have only master test case for this hrm, right? And I want you guys to understand, like, git and github is not only to just put the programming or coding files, right? Git and GitHub concept is bit different, right? But we will understand why it is used mainly for coding and programming, because those are the file we normally track back to back for the programming purpose. Okay, so in today's session, we will talk about Git and GitHub from scratch. If you do not have any background on Git and GitHub, then also totally fine. I will teach you how to install Git and how to configure your repository in GitHub, how to create an account. Everything we will create from scratch. Okay, so let's we start with the Git and GitHub. So let's talk about what is Git and GitHub, right? And why I took this topic upfront in this series, because I want you to understand how you can work with the single files. Because when you understand how the Git and GitHub work with the single files, you can work with a list of files as well, right? And why programmer mostly use this kind of versioning tool, right? That we'll also discuss in detail. But before we jump into the git and github, few of the concept you should be aware, like the first things, what is version and what is version control, right? Because versioning and version control, that is the main purpose of using the git and github, right? We can track the things, but how, like, in a good way we can track the things. So whenever we require to roll back to the different version, when we want to see the rollback what was the in a previous version, we can easily track. So we will talk about the version and version control. Each and every software will have some version assigned to it. Why and what is the importance of that particular version, we will discuss. Then we will talk about what is git and github. Then we will see the installation of git bash, and then how you can create your account in github, right? How you can create your first repository in github, right? Then we will talk about the basic command from scratch, right? So if you do not have any prior knowledge about git and github, then no need to worry. This video will help you to understand each and everything from scratch, how you can create your accounts, how you can start with the git and github. Okay, so let's we start with the first things, what is version and version control, right? So we all know, right, what is version. Version is something, I will just say, is the unique number that we define to the software or application, right? So we can lock the stage. Let's suppose how we can lock the stage. So in version 1, we have 20 requirement, right? So now suppose we have to track that 20 requirement, right? We always refer the version 1.0. Now some more requirement added, right? Like suppose now 10 more requirement added, so now that particular version will have a 13 requirement, total 30. So that we will consider as a version 2.0 or something like that way. We normally give the versioning to the software or application, right? And that version will help us to identify the application based on their functionality and features, and how you can differentiate between the different version. Okay, so let me just talk in a simple word, right? So suppose if you have Microsoft Office installed, right? If you just search for a PowerPoint, it just says PowerPoint 2013, right? This means this is the version of the PowerPoint. So similar way, if you see the browser, right? If you go to the Chrome, you go to the help, and it just says about Google Chrome, right? Then also you can see the version. So each and every application, right, will have some version defined. Why? Because that will help the developer, the tester, or the organization to understand which version is available for customer, which version customer is using, and if they have any bug or issue, they can easily fix it, and they can also provide the update on the version. Okay, now how the versioning work? Versioning work in a different way, but we will talk in detail when we talk about the automation part. But this is the basic concept of version. Just understand, right? To give the unique number of the application, to log the stage of the requirement of the functionality. Okay, now let's we go back and just says version controlling, right? So what is version controlling? Like the name suggests, how you control the version of the application, like version 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? How you control that things in a good way, so developer or other stakeholder in a SDLC, right, like a BA, project manager, QA, can easily identify, okay, this is the application will belong to this version, right? These are the list of reports, or these are the list of documents are referred to this particular version. And how you can control them in a better way, that is called the version controlling, right? Nowadays we work on agile, even though previously when we work on the waterfall model, right, the version controlling also equivalent importance, because when you give something to the customer, right, and when you want to track those things, right, based on the version controlling is always help the developer or the stakeholder to maintain the credibility of the application in front of the customer as well. Okay, so version controlling is also known as source control. Source control means whatever the development file that you have written, the source file you have written, that is we call the source control. Okay, guys. So let me just give you the basic example. Okay, how the version and version controlling will work. So suppose we have version 1.0, right? Let me make it bit bigger, and it has a 10 requirement. Now this is with the customer. Okay, now customer give us some change, and we will create the version 2.0, which has the additional 10 requirements. Means now 10 plus 10, total 20 requirements we have for the customer. Okay, now suppose from this 10 requirement, right, we will have the requirement ID something like this, 1.0 and 1.1 and 1.2, something like that way, and this is how 1.10 we will have, right? And additional another 10 requirement we will have 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and 2.10. So these are the second version requirement, right? So this is the 10 requirement, this is a 10 requirement. Now suppose customer give us some changes in the requirement, right? So they just says, okay, I want to change in this particular module. So you can just say, okay, this is the change in the version 1.2 requirement, right? So whatever the requirement will get changed over here, we will just notify over here. So what will happen? We know, okay, whatever the we have in a version 1.2, sorry, in a version 1, the requirement 1.2 is has been changed, right? So what we can do, when we release this particular change, we need to make sure it is available in version 1.0 and 1.2 as well. Okay, and something which has been changed after onward, let's suppose customer ask to change in this requirement 2.1, right? So what will happen? We no need to change in version 1.0. Why? Because this 2.1 is came in a version 2.0 itself. So whatever changes we will make, we can only make it available in version 2.0. We no need to worry on this version 1.0. Why? because that is not a part of these particular things. Okay, so that makes sense, right? We only concerned about the requirement and the subsequent version release that we have done for the particular application. Now suppose we have a version 3.0, right, and it has another 3 requirements, so total 13 requirements we have, right? So 10 plus 10 plus 10, now we have 13 requirement with the customer, right? And over here similar 3.0, 3.1, 3.2 and 3.10. So we have this 10 requirement, right? So total 13 requirement. Now customer is using this one and somehow he feel like we are not happy with these new changes, right? And we almost want to ignore this change and we want you to roll back us on 2.0, right? So it will be in this scenario, it will be easy for developer, for the deployment team, for the cloud engineer to roll back the version, right? Because they have tracked the history, they have the track the history of this particular version. So they normally have this package, this version 2.0 package, and they just go to the server and then they just update or deploy that version 2 package by removing the 3.0. So this is how that is also help you to roll back to the previous version and update your new build to the application. So this is the use of the version controlling, guys. Okay, now the challenge was that when the project will get increased, right, the number of files get increased, it is very hard to track these changes initially in Excel. Initially when nothing was there like any application to track this version, people used to track these things in Excel, right? They normally put the in Excel in this format, right? Just says version 1.0, 2.0, something like that way they used to maintain like this way. But then gradually that few of the application come where we can track these particular things in a good way, right? So we can easily roll back and we can easily update the team. So far so clear, right? What is version and version control? Perfect. If you have any questions, you can just let us know. You can contact me anytime. You can also send email to us, we will definitely get back to you. Okay. Then the next thing is it, what is Git? Now once you understand this concept, what is version and version control, then it will be the part how you can use the Git, right? So Git is nothing, is one kind of distributed version control system, right? So it is a distributed version control system, means it will be work on a multiple way, like the distributed means it is divided to the multiple things, and you can somehow you can keep the changes at the one place and you can manage it easily. Okay, it is widely used source control because most of the company nowadays use Git, right? So this is one of the, I will just say, is the must required things if you are learning the automation, right? Because when you write your automation code like your Selenium files or your Java code in a Selenium, right, you have to use the Git in day to day basis. Okay, so it is very much important to learn the Git, and that's the reason we take this one upfront, and we will, whatever we learn from now onwards, we will use a Git. Okay, now what Git will do, so Git will allow the multiple developer automation engineer to work on a same project at the same time, right? And they can keep the track of everything. Okay, so that is the main purpose of using a Git, right? Let's suppose in one project we have 10 files, right? And each developer wants to update different files, they can do it easily using the Git. Okay, and at the same time, if they want to access the same file, right, they can also do the same thing using the Git. Now Git will be have a two things. Git will be normally installed in local machine, and we can configure in a local machine. Then we will connect with the remote repository. Okay, so Git will be have a two repository, the local and remote repository. So let's we start with how we can install a Git. Okay, then we will talk about the GitHub. Okay, so let's we go and see how to install a Git. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going on a Google and simply I will just write install Git on Windows 10. Okay, and this first website will come, just go through that one and just go download, and over here you will find how to download in a Windows system, you see. So over here just go to this one, right, and download this particular thing. So I will click on this one and it just says download standard. Okay, so I will go with the standalone installer 64-bit git windows setup. I will click on this one, and as soon as I will click on this one, it just says this is gonna be downloaded. Okay, so once it is downloaded, we will install this one. So go to standalone installer and go to 64-bit and 32-bit based on your configuration, and start installing these particular things. So let me go and go to my download, and I can just refresh this one, and I can see these particular things. Now I can just run as administrator, and I can start installing the Git in my system. Okay, so if I go to this my particular folder, right, currently I'm right clicking over here. You see I cannot see any option for Git or Git bash. Okay, but after installing we can see the difference. So what I'm gonna do, I will click on next. I will just say C program file. Yes, this would be my location. I will just say, would you like to? Okay, yes, I have installed it previously, so that is the reason it is asking. I will click on next and next, and I will just say go and just install, right, and then next. No need to change anything, guys. Just go next, 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 and it will be. And over here also use the go next and default and go next. Then click on next and just install. Okay, as soon as you will click on install, it will start installing these particular things. So now if you know how to install a git, you can follow these steps and you can install the git bash in your system. Okay, this is what we are installing a git, right guys? GitHub is a different things. We are installing a git in our local machine, right, from where we can manage our local repository. We can track the local file in our machine itself, and then after the concept of GitHub will come. Okay, so once this is installed, you can see the difference. As of now, you see over here we do not have any option for GitHub, Git bash, but after installation you can see the difference. So I will show you that information in a while. So let it read, and it will not take much time. It will be quickly installed in your system, right? So everything is getting installed. You see running the post install script. So this is how you can install, right, the GitHub. And I just says launch a git bash. I'm not gonna do, or if you want you can also do. I'm not gonna release this one, and I'll just click on finish. Okay, and you see this is the GitHub, guys. Sorry, this is the git bash. Okay, and this is how it's look like. This is similar to a command prompt, but this is different things. Okay, if you just write down cmd, right, this is your command prompt, and this is how it look like. But git bash will look like this one. This is the icon of git bash, and this is over here. You can put your git command. Okay, so I am closing this one, I am closing this one, and now if I right click, you see it just says git ui and git bash over here, right? You can go with the git bash as well. That is both are similar, and in whatever the directory you are, it is always shows the default, right? So this is the correct way to use the github or git bash. Just come over here on the folder of the project, then right click and go to git ui. Okay, this is how you can open, sorry, not this one but this git bash. Okay, so this is, we will keep it open, but this is how you can install the git in your local machine. You can install like this way, and you can download it from this particular link. Just search it from Google, go to Windows, and you can download from this particular link. Okay, perfect. So now let's we talk about what is GitHub, right? So we have seen what is Git, right, and how we can normally use in a locally system, right? So this is normally Git is normally get installed to the developer machine, to the automation tester machine, from where they have stored the local code and where they are actually working. Okay, now the GitHub is something we can just say similar structure that we have in a Git, but it is on a web base, right? And the difference that I found is wonderful image, and that is totally makes sense when you want to differentiate between git and github, right? Sometimes they will definitely ask this question, what is git and github? So we already know what is git. Git is a software that we normally install locally in our system, right? And that will work on a command line application, right? The git bash that we have seen, we can open the git bash and we can put our command. Each and every command, how you can start from scratch, we will learn in this particular series, so no need to worry. But let's we understand what is GitHub. As the name suggests, right, GitHub is the web-based platform that used for the version controlling, right? And as I told you, right, Git normally update the local repository, where GitHub manage the remote repository, right? The copy of that particular local things you can commit on a remote side, and that will be stored over there. So similar way, right, we have all used the Google Drive, right? So what we normally do, we create some application or we create some Excel file or document, right? But when we feel, okay, I can use this file when I'm not on my laptop, right, I want to use it from mobile. So what you normally do, you upload that particular things to your Google Drive, right? So let's suppose your driving license copy or something like that way, your resume or something like that way, or any learning material, right? I used to keep my learning material in my Google Drive, so whenever I am traveling somewhere or whenever I'm not with the application, right, I know not with my machine or laptop, I normally refer the over the internet. So similar way, your code from local repository you want to put on remote repository, you can use GitHub, right? And we know how to install Git. Now we will see how to how to configure or how to create an account in GitHub. Okay, so I will just put GitHub over here, and if you see the first one, first over here, it's just come GitHub. Okay, so this is how the GitHub look like, and always just says I have created one a dummy account to just showcase you from scratch, so I can use that account. So I will click on sign up, right? And over here I will put my email address. Okay, so this is the email address, SLT Learning with Ankit I have created. I will put my email address over here. Just hold on, just it's a new UI. So just hold on. Let me click on this one again. Why it is not working? Or I will just says create a new account. Okay. I think it's refreshing. So please be with me. It's a bit slow, right? Otherwise, it will ask you to enter your email address over here. And once you will enter your email address, it will take you to the further process how you can configure your email. You see, so few things is automatically. So it says just enter your email address. So I am just entering my email address and clicking on continue. So if my email address is not used previously, then it will ask you. So to create a GitHub, you should have some email address, right? It could be anything. It's not necessary to have a Gmail. You can use your company email address, or you can use any email address to create a GitHub account. And I'm going to put my command over here, SLT learning. So it just says strong. If I want to view, I can also view SLT learning 321, and I can click on continue. It's asking me to select the username, right? So guys, this email address and username is always useful. So I am just putting same thing, SLT learning with, sorry, space is not allowed, SLT learning with Ankit. I will click on, I will copy this one, right, and I will click on continue. It just says, would you like to yes, I want to see the updates. I will just say yes, and I am just copying this username over here. Okay, because this username and the email address will help me to configure the element. It just says verify your account, and I will just says create account. Okay, so as soon as you will go, okay, it just says password. Okay, it is asking me to change my password, so I will just Punar says learn automation. Okay, I will just keep it learn automation. Okay, and learn automation, I will just, I'm just writing down over here, learn automation. So or if it is not compatible and why it is giving it just says continue, I will just says continue, and I will just says continue. Yeah, and once you will click on continue, it will ask you to solve the puzzle. Okay, it will come around 2 to 3 times. It's a very simple one, just to make sure you are not a robot, right? You just pick up one square that shows two identical object. So I will just say it's two identical object, this one, right? One done. Two identical object that I need to pick up. So I'll just this one, right? And it just says done. And then I can click on create account. Okay, now it will take some time, and now it will ask me to enter the code that has been sent to the email, right? And that is the reason you should have email address and necessary. So I will go to my email address, I will refresh my browser and just says, yep, I got a code from GitHub 963161117. Okay, so 963161117. Okay, so this is my code. I will double make sure, and yeah, and it took me to this one. It just says how many team member. I will just say 223, and I will just say I'm a teacher, and I will click on continue. So these are the process. Okay, just says I gonna use these for collaboration, coding, automation, and CI/CD, and whatever you want to select, you can select. Okay, that's fine. Then it just asks you, do you want a free version or the additional one? I will just use my free one, continue for free, and as soon as you will click on continue your free, it will take you to your dashboard page. It is initializing your dashboard page, and this is how your GitHub look like. Okay guys, so this is the basic one. This is how the first login will look like, and this is over here. You can see this is your username, SLT learning, your profile, your repository, your project, and everything you will see it over here. Okay, so this is how you can create a account in GitHub. Okay, now we will see how you can create a repository, right, in your GitHub account, right? So what is repository, right, guys? That is a part of learning. What is repository? So as of now we have seen what is Git, what is GitHub, what is the difference between them. GitHub is a service, right, which we can use over the cloud, over the internet, where a Git is a software because we have installed in our local machine, and we have just make sure by the exe file we have installed it. Git is installed locally, GitHub is on a web base, right? And how they gonna work and how it gonna be actually work in a real time company, right? We will see the structure completely. Okay, but before that, let's we understand the next things. What is repository? Okay, so repository and branch, these are the two things you normally came across when you talk about Git and GitHub, right? So repository, always think simple, right? It is a folder, right? It is a folder that contain all your files, directories, subfolders, right? Which you want to track for the revision of or for the version history, right? So repository in a simple word called a folder that hold all the files and directory. Okay, so in a Git and GitHub concept, we will have a two type of repository. One is local repository and one is remote repository. Local repository, that means Git, that normally we create at the local on a machine, right, on a developer machine or automation tester machine. And remote repository, which is remain on GitHub side, it's over here. Okay, so these are the two things, guys, remote and local. Now what is branch, right? So branch is nothing but where to track those things, right? Where you want to track the stable version of the application, where the every point of the file will be tracked like I will just say this is the final version of the application, that is we call a branch, right? So in a one repository, right, we will have a multiple branch. In one project we will have multiple branch based on the developer we are working, right, to track their changes, to track their information. So branch and repository we will see in a while in a practical way, but this is what the concept of repository, right? So now let's we do one thing. Let's we create one master repository, okay, for our project. So what we can do, we can go over here, and over here you will find the option create your first project, right? And this is your create your first project means create the repository. The project means repository. Okay, so I will click on repository, and I will just say it says honor is SLT learning, and I will just say orange HRM and demo one. Okay, so it just says orange HRM demo one is available. Okay, and I will just says description, if you want to put, this is for training purpose, guys. Okay, I'm gonna make it public. I will add a file, right, and git code. This is something that you no need to worry, just keep it simple. Add a readme file that will help you to put some instruction, and I will just click on create repository. Okay, So this is how you can create a new repository in your account. And I will click on create repository. So as soon as you will click on create repository, right, what GitHub will do, GitHub will create one space for you, like this is totally a Google Drive, guys. So over here you can put your files, right? But what is a disadvantage in Google file, right? Let's suppose if you have one file with some data, if you try to upload the same copy, right, either it will ask you to update, or it will ask you to create a copy. But in a GitHub, what will happen, it will keep the same file but track the changes, what is newly added, what has been removed in that file. So all those things you can track it over here. Okay, so this is our how the first repository look like. Okay, so far so clear, right, guys? What is Git, how to install Git, what is GitHub, how to create a GitHub repository, how to create a GitHub account. So everything, if you are a non-technical, right, if you're a non-IT guy, still you can understand this is very basic. And why I would suggest to have these things before you start your learning, right? Because practice these things, guys. When you practice git commit, git push, git call clone, git I will just different command of git, right, then and then you will remember easily. Because this, in automation testing interview, right, they will definitely ask you the question related to this. Okay, and in automation, your actual job description or actual work, Git and GitHub, you will come across day-to-day activity. Okay, so this is so far we have for Git and GitHub, and we have installed both of them, we have created the account for both of them. And now what we're gonna do, we will gonna learn more about how we can use the GitHub and Git bash and to track the files, and we will start with these single files. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, so we have talked about what is repository, what is branch, and we have also created the account in Git and GitHub, right? But before we go to the practical, right, I want to tell you the scenario, how the actual scenario work in IT companies. Okay, so let's we use this paint, right, and I will draw you something that will help you to understand the scenario, how the project manager assign work to developer, or QA automation lead assign work to the QA automation engineer, right? Over here when it says automation engineer, that means the developer. Okay, so let's we talk about that things. So let's suppose this is the manager. Okay, over here we will have one manager, right? So what manager will do, what activity manager we will perform, right, we will talk. So let's suppose this is my manager machines, right? So this is my manager. Let me make font a little bit small. Okay, so my manager, and this is his machine, right? So what kind of the activity normally manager do, right? So first of all, he has git installed in his local machine. Developer also have git installed in their local machine. They have also created their account. Manager also have the repository or the account in GitHub as well, and the developer will also have the GitHub account. Okay, so what will happen in this case, so manager first of all in the local machine, he will create the few things, right? So first he will create the project, right? He will create the project, means he will create the basic framework, right, the structure of the project, where they need to put the module wise files and all those things, right? Then what it will do, he will create git repo local using the git command, right? So local repository he will create in a git bash. Then what it will do, he will add a files, right? Add files and required documents, right, in that particular git repository. Then what will happen, he will commit commit the changes to git local repo to track. Okay, so this activity the manager will do. So first of all he will create the project, he will create the local repository. As of now repository is blank. So what it will do, when he will create a file or add a file, he will commit. Once he will commit, then and then this file will get under the git repository for a tracking. Okay, and then what he will do, the next thing, he will push these local repo files to remote repository, which is GitHub, guys, right? Which is GitHub. So whatever he has in local machine, right? Whatever the folder structure he has created, he will push them to the remote repository, guys. Understand? So this is very basic, right? That makes sense. Create a project, create a Git repository, then add a files, add a document, commit it, and push it. So this is what normally manager do. Okay, this is the part of the manager or the senior activities. Okay, when the project will start, guys, mainly the project will start, they will perform this activity. Now suppose in this particular project we will have a two developer to work. Okay, so we will have a developer one. Let's suppose this is my developer one and this is my developer two. Okay, so I will have a two developer or two automation engineer, right? We can just say developer as well, we can just say automation engineer. So we will have a two developer. I will use the word developer over here, guys. So we will have a developer dev 01, right? And we will have a dev 02, right? So now, what manager will do? Manager will give these two developer a Git URL, Git repo URL, guys. He will announce or he will email, right? He will email or in a chat or somewhere. He will broadcast this to developer. This is the Git repo URL you can use for this project. Okay, and where you can see this URL on a remote machine because he has put on the remote, right? He has put on a remote repository, so he can pass the URL. So if you go your Git account, you can see over here, right? It just says HTTP and this is the Git URL. You see, if I copy this one, if I paste it over here, so I can tell my team this is my Git repository. I have a files over here. You can start working on this one. Okay, we will see these things practically, but this is the Git URL look like. Okay, this is how your project repository name and this the extension will contain the Git. So after that, he will send a broadcast to the team, right? They can start cloning this one, right? Cloning means create a copy. So from their from their remote to the local, right? So what will happen? This developer will perform certain activity. So we can start. So first of all, as I says, clone the repo or copy the repo to local machine, right? Simple. So the URL they will take, they will clone the repo. Normally you will see this word clone, cloning the repository. They will clone the repo to the local machine, right? Now what will happen? Once they will clone, they will have all the files, right? They will have all their files to the system, right? Now what they will do? They will start working on that one, right? So will they says they will add or modify the information on the file, right? They will add and modify the files information, add, update, code, files, right? It will be the any files they will update in the project, right? They will add some new files or they will update the existing file the given by the project manager, right? So once they will make their changes, right, what they will do, they will create a local repository. So they will again create a local git repo with the name, right? So this is for developer one or developer 2, something like that, right? This is the local repo, right? Now when they will finish their work, what they will do, they will just say commit the changes to respective local repositories, right? So developer 1 will do on dev 1 and developer 2 will do dev 2, right? So they will make their changes and commit their changes. So same thing will happening, right? Commit to the local, commit to the local. So once they will commit, it is ready to track the change, right? It will become on a local repository. And then after what they will do, they will after committing, what they will do, they will push their code, push their codes or changes or code files, whatever the modification they have made or a new file added to the respective branch, right? Respective branch, I will just say similar, the local repository they will have a remote repository like dev 1, dev 2. Okay, guys, they will, and over here let me tell you the concept. So over here, when he will have a master branch, okay, because he is a manager. He is look after about all the changes they will gonna push to the master branch, okay. And over here they will create their respective branch as per the developer, and they will push their changes to the remote repository, right. And once they will push their changes, right, what they will do, the last things, they will raise the PR, right, raise a PR to merge the code from like Dev 01 to master, and also Dev 02 to master. So they want to now merge their code. Okay, they have put the coding or they have put the required changes. Now they want to merge the file. So for that they will raise the PR. And what is PR? PR means pull request. This is also one of the word, right? If you are working somewhere, you have normally listen from the developer, right? I have raised the PR, please approve it. So when manager will review the whatever changes they have put, he will, what he will do, he will either reject or approve. If he will reject, then he will tell the reason, and if it is approved, he will put the comment, right? So this is how the normal things will work in a IT sector, guys. Very basic way, okay. You can keep this image with you when if you are a learner, so that will help you to understand the concept. So manager to developer and developer to manager, and how they will create from local and how they will manage on a remote side, okay. So hope that this particular tutorial will make sense to you, right? The concept of Git and GitHub will make sense to you. So Git is something that will have a local, right, local repo, understand like this one. And when we talk about GitHub, right, it is a sorry remote repo. Here, guys, so far how the IT work and how the normal project structure work in IT companies. This is how it's work. Okay, create a project, create a repository, initiate, and all those things, and how clone and commit and push keyword and commands will be used. We will see everything in practical, okay. So in this particular video we're going to cover each and everything, and I have also list down few of the commands for your use, so you can also refer these commands, right, and how to use this. These are the useful command that you're going to use on your day-to-day activity when you work as an automation tester for your project, okay. So this is all about the Git and GitHub installation, the definition of repository and branch, and how you can start working on this one. So now the thing is that let's do the actual practical. Okay, guys. So far we have covered all the basics about Git, like the terminology and how we can create an account on GitHub and how we can install the Git on local machine. So let's start with the very basic and how you can start and initiate your Git local repository from the local folder to the remote one. We will go step by step. Okay. So the first command you can see git init, right? That is mainly to initiate the local repository, right? Before you start anything, you have to initiate something, right? So this will help you to create a local repository where you can add a file, because once you will add a file in a local repository, then and then you can put on a remote side. Okay, so that is the basic concept that we will follow. So first what we will do, git init, okay. So we are over here, right? We are in this particular folder, so I will just say right click and just says git bash, and over here you will see all the changes, okay. So first of all I will put the command git init. So this is the command, guys, okay, git init. I am just making the screen a bit bigger so it will be visible for you. So git init and just hit enter. As soon as you will hit enter, you see over here it become like one folder. This is the git folder, right? So it has all the this other information. This is nothing but help us to track the information for git, okay. And how it gonna track this information, we will see it in a while, okay. So what I am gonna do, I will again go to my presentation and we will see the second command. It just says git status, right? So when you just apply this command git status, what it will do, it will check all the untracked file. Means untracked, that means has not added to the, I will just say, is the local staging area, okay. So what will happen over here, we will see, okay, but we will see it practically. So I will close this one and I will go over here and I will just say git status, right? And when I click on git status, it just says untracked file, right? Untracked file means this file has not added to the staging area. This is one of the another good example to understand. So let's we understand like this way, okay? So git init will initiate the, I will just say is the local repository, right? Git status will tell us a untracked file, right? And over here what we'll have, we will have couple of sections, okay? So we will have a staging area, then we will have a local repository, and then we will have a remote repository, guys. This is how it will work, okay? So local staging area, okay, is it gonna be tracked, then local repo ready for commit, and then remote repository means GitHub. Okay, so this is how we have the normal structure and how this Git work. Okay, so we just check the Git status, Git init, right? Now, if he just says Git status, it just says this is the untracked file. You see, so it also asks us to use this command git add and file name to include what will be committed, right? So once you will use git add, then and then you can use git commit command, guys. This is how it's gonna be work, okay? So what we're gonna do over here, we will use our third command, which will be git add, okay? And how you can use git add file name, or you can just put git add star or git add dot, okay? So I will just say git add, and I will just say file name master, right? And if I just hit tab, it will give me the file name, okay? So one of my file I want to add, right? So I will click on enter, right? As soon as I will click on enter, nothing will happen, but we can see the difference still, okay, on the same screen, guys. I will just resize this particular size, okay? And now if I use same command git status, you will see the difference. Git status, right? Sorry, status. And you see now it just says no untracked files. So there is no untracked file. Why it is showing this one? Because this is file I have keep it open. If I close this one, it will not show this file. This is just a copy. If you remember, when you open some file, it shows this copy like this way. But as of now, no file untracked. Okay, if I use again git status, you will see status. Yeah, you see now this file is not coming because it is open, hence it is coming waiting for change. But now it just says no untracked file in this particular location, and change, you are ready to commit this particular change, okay? And if you want to remove from cache, you can use this one, this command git remove cache file name, okay, to unstage. So now this is stage, right? To unstage, you can use this command, guys. So git is such a way you can use all the command one by one. But now I just says this file is over here, okay? So now when you just use this command git add and file name, you can use file name, or you can also use dot, right, to add all the file, right? Add all the file, you can also use dot. So this is the command git add command. It will add the stage area, right? Local staging area. Now if I go to over here, I will create one more file just for our example, text file, okay? So demo, or okay, project instruction, okay? And I will add one line, SLT learning automation. This is my one line I added. I am saving this one. I will again go to this one. So initially what was happened, when we just says git status, it shows one file which was untracked. Then we use git command, which is git add, right? This command, where it is, yeah, this git add command with file name to add the file, and then we will see git status. Now it just says nothing untracked, and this file is ready to commit. Now I have added one more file called project instruction, and if I click on this one, and now I just says git status, right? If I click on this one, it just says this is ready to commit, right? Because it is showing in green, but this is one more untracked file. You see, project instruction.txt. So this is how it's going to be work. Now suppose if I open this file, if I open this file, right, and I make any change, guys, this is how they track the change. I will just say paste, okay, and I will just say save, and I will close this one, right? So this is how the all the changes gonna track in Git. And now you see it says green over here. It is ready to commit, but I have made some modification. And now if I do Git status now, it says change not stage committed. There is something that has been modified over here, you see. So do you want to add in a Git add file and add that changes as well, or you want to add, or you want to commit whatever the latest version has been stored? Understand this concept, guys. What is happening? Initially we have git add, right? So this file is ready to commit, but the last change we had a test that if we need to include, then we need to do it git commit, sorry, git add file name again, and this is another untracked file project instruction. So now what I will do, I will just add git add and dot means all, and I will hit enter. So now it just says git add dot means all the files, and now if I just says git status, it just says this two file is ready to commit. Okay, guys. So what is the steps? First, initialize the local repository, then check the status of untracked file. To put them in a staging, you can use git add, right? So as of now this file is this staging area, guys, still not in local repository. Understand this concept. Git add will add in a staging area. You can also unstage those file using the command you can see over here, right? Unstage. If you want to unstage, we will have a command over here, right? This is to unstage, means to remove from the staging area. But currently my all of those two files with the changes are commit ready to commit. Okay, now the third option just says git commit m message, right? So it just says it's ready to commit, right? But before that, if let's suppose what will happen if I just directly go to commit, because if you're a new user, right, you might be think, okay, it's ready to commit, I can use commit command. Okay, so I'm also use these things. So I will just say git commit. Commit always come with the message. I will just say my first git commit. Okay, so this is the user defined message, and mostly developer and automation tester put like the very well defined message over here to understand their commits, what commit they have made. Okay, so my first commit, and I will hit enter. Now you just says it just says author identify unknown, right? Means you have to provide your identity, where you want to commit, how you want to commit, right? All those things you need to set up. And for that one it is also instructing run these two command, right? So what I will do, I will copy this one, guys. I will copy this one and I will try to put it over here. If it is get copied, yes, it is got copied. And what I will do, it just says user email, so I will use this email, right? And that's the reason I told you, right? These two things always remember, and this is my username. Okay, and now if I copy these two things, let me remove this space. So git will give you some instruction as well if you're doing the first time. So git commit, so you have to commit these things before you do any other activity. Okay, so I will just right click and paste it. Sorry, it just says, okay, let me remove this one, or let me write it down like this way. Okay, so my username has been taken. Now git config, let me just says global user dot email, and I will just says SLT learning with it at gmail.com, and I will hit enter. So it took that one as well, right? So both of are, because I think over here it may be some issue with the copy paste, right? That is the reason. But you see, I entered these two command, username and email, and my configuration variable has been done for the git commit. Now let's we apply the same command, this git commit and this my first commit. Okay, so I will again go, I will just minimize this one, I will again go and I will just say git commit m my first commit. Okay, and I will hit enter. So it just says my commit is ready, right? Git commit master root commit has been, my first commit has been done over here, right? Yeah, so after my commit, right, my first commit on local repository, now it is got over here in local repo. Now we need to add in a remote repo, right, for a git push. But before git local, like we do on a local repo to the remote repo, we have to link them, right? How system will come to know which these two particular things, how they're gonna link. So for that one we have to run this command first time, right? This git remote add origin and git url, we no need to run it again and again. Once you will link this local repository to the remote repository with the url, then you can put you can apply your push command, and you can push the file and you can work smoothly. Okay, so I have put over here git remote add origin, and then I will go to my repo. I will go to over here and copy this one, right? I can just paste it over here, and now I will copy and paste it on my code. Okay, so it just says git remote add origin and the url of the git repository. So command is already over here, and you need to just put the your url over here. Okay guys, so I will just hit enter, and it just says done successfully. Now I can just do git push, then origin. It says git push. Just hold on, I think I made a mistake. It says git push origin master. Okay, origin master over here, it just says origin master, right? So guys, this is my mistake that I have done on presentation. I am correcting this one. So it just says not original, it just says origin. Okay, origin and branch name. So I will just go over here, and I will just say origin, and then master branch. I want to link with the master branch. Okay, and I will hit enter. As soon as you will enter, right, it will check, or if it is not the master branch, it will create a master branch on the remote, right? And it will asking you to create a pull request for master to the github by visiting this one, right? So this is the our master branch that we need to create a new master branch over here. Okay, so if I will go on my branch, my github, right, if I refresh this one, right, so what it is saying, it's just saying two branch, right? So it just says master branch had recent change, compare or pull the branch. So I can, you see over here, create a pull request to add. So I can compare, but this is my first one, so we do not want to compare. If I click on this one, it just says master branch. If I go to my master branch, I can see my two file. You see master file, first commit and second commit. If I open this file, it just says SLT learning automation, right? Now suppose if I go my this file SLT learning, and if I just add another line, right, Ankit Prajapati, if I'm adding this line and I want to keep a track of this one, so how I can do, I can just say git status, I just want untrack file, git add, then dot means all file, and I can just say git commit m, and I will just say modified file added one line. Okay, something like that, right? I'm adding over here commit, right? So one file change over here. Now I can, now you see I can directly push. I do not want to add remote again, because that is a one time activity that you need to do to link your local to remote branch. Okay, now I can just say git push origin master, hit enter, right? So now it will push this one file change to my origin master. You see over here master to master. If I go over here, right, if I go to back, right? It just says modify file, added one line. Now you see, if I click on this one, it will show me these two things. You see, this line has been added. You got my point? So this is how this push command will work. So this is, so far we have checked from, like, how you can do from local to the remote. So now from local to remote, right? That we have seen these two files for multiple. I will just say is the commit. But now suppose this is this is what the project manager has sent from his local machine route. Now he has sent email to the developer with this URL. Hey guys, this is what I have created as a master project repository. You can clone to your system and start your work of coding or development. Okay, so guys, now we are talking about this part. Okay, so how developer will react? So first this is, they will clone the repo to their local machine. So to replicate that one, I have created one folder, developer folder. And what I will do, I will right click and just click on git bash over here, right? So for git bash, what I will do, just do git clone, and I will get the URL. I will get this URL, right? And I will have these two files to my local machine. Okay, so this is for a developer, guys. Understand? So we already have this from manager orange HRM folder. So this orange, if you see over here, right? This is orange HRM folder. This is what the manager has created locally. Then he pushed to the remote. Now from remote, we are cloning to another repository which is for a developer. Okay, so git clone, right? I will just maximize this one. So git clone, then URL of the repository, and then just hit enter. You see it just says cloning into orange HRM, and you see folder automatically get created. If you open this folder, right, open this folder, you can see these two files, guys. You see, so what is happening, let me put it like this way, right? So let me put it like this way. So this is what the exact the scenario that we have replicated, right? So this is the manager who has created these two files. Then he has committed and pushed these two files to the GitHub, and from GitHub the developer has cloned, right? The developer has cloned this repository, and he got these two files to his machine. Okay, now he will work. Let's suppose he will work on this machine, right? Let's say testing or something like that. He will add, he will commit, and he will do his action. So now developer has submit modification. If I just says git status, it says, sorry, if I just says git status, well, I have to first says git init. Okay, and then I will just says git status. It just says this is one of the untracked file you can find. So I will just say git add dot, and similar way I can start my work. Okay, so similar way the developer can start his work from this particular machine. He can go to this one and go to git bash, and over here he can just start working on git add any changes, right? And git status, I was in the wrong folder, but now it just says git status done successfully, right? From the developer machine. Okay. And this is how you can start working, modify the file, and you can put it again to the remote. Then again, the manager wants to download, they will clone and they will fetch the file. But this is how the Git and Git work have worked in a real-time scenario that we have just replicated this scenario. Okay, working with multiple branch and working with multiple things that are too much advanced level of things, that as of now we no need to worry, but understand this basic command that will help you to do your job easily in automation side. These are the very much important command: git push, git clone, this git commit, and all those things. No need to go to this difference, and just have a basic understanding, not in that much, because this will not in that much required. This is something the senior level of people will do, or the coder or the programmer will do. Okay, but this is useful, guys. I want you to practice this one. Create your account, install a git, just make some files and try to put upload and download. Create multiple folder in your system and try to replicate these things. This will really help you to understand the scenario of the git and github, guys. So hope this particular video helped you, right? In a next session again we will do some more manual test cases. Then we will go on how to structurize our automation framework, and then in Eclipse I will show you from scratch how you can create single file, single folder structure, config file and extend report and everything, and how you can build a strong automation framework from scratch. And this will help you if you are also a non-IT or a fresher. This my training parts, this series will get you all the knowledge about manual plus automation testing. Thank you guys. If you like my videos, please share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.